Alrighty guys, so it's day 2. Recap of the first video. In case you haven't watched it, go ahead and watch that. So we got the car started on a base map. We spoke about auto tune for a while. We went on a maiden voyage and we just, for the most part, we began trimming fuel out of the car and we got it okay, but it's still very rich. And then from there, now we're going to go to do some more fuel trimming, and then we're also going to cover some more in-depth topics. So stay tuned. But before that, only thing I've changed thus far for the car, I've put the front bumper back on, and in reinstalling the bumper, I noticed one of my couplers was loose, so that might explain why the boost was only limited to 5 pounds when it was supposed to be a 7-pound spring. So the only other thing is that maybe we might need some more boost. Well, we might be heating some more boost now. So right, so we're gonna cut to the good stuff, so stay tuned. Okay, before we go any further with this, just wanted to cover another piece of software which will come up sometime during the tuning process. This one is Megalog Viewer, and we basically used it to data log, well, to view data logs. Data log, what exactly is a data log? Well, in your tuning software, come on, behave. Okay, in your tuning software, when we're running the car, and you may not have a chance to look at everything, well, it's highly unlikely that you'll be able to look at every single thing. So what you do is basically a log. You capture what is going on with the ECU during the running process of the engine. To do that, you simply go up to data logs, start log. You get this window, you can rename the log whatever you want and hit save, and then the log will start. To stop it, you simply go to the same place and you hit stop log. When you're done, shortcut, you can hit Alt and V and it'll pull up the most recent log, or you can just go in the software here, open this up, and then you can pull up any logs. I'm not sure what I have on these logs. I think that was, I'm not sure, but it will essentially look something like this. Wavy lines, right? If you look here, we have RPM in white, first window, RPM white, map, TPS. You can set this to whatever you want, AFR, you can set this to AFR target, you can disalog multiple channels. I'm not sure how many channels Speeduino has, but it has a lot. So when reviewing your logs, for instance, you can do a pull, stop, well, before you do the pull, record a log, after the pull, stop, and then pull up the log here, and you can look at what fuel ratios you hit, if you had any boost spikes or whatnot. Pretty much a recap of what the engine did, right? So now let's get on to the tuning process. Okay, so now that we did some idle tuning, at this point we'd have already done idle tuning and whatnot. Day 2, we're gonna try to adjust our cold start enrichments. So we're gonna make sure that the car warms up pretty good. We're not going to go all the way because again the idle is not perfect at this point, but we're going to get it close to a point where it's not running too rich or too lean. So we're going to start up and we're going to show you this. Hopefully we get a start. Okay, so we are at 28 degrees. Temp sensor seems to be off, so I'm just gonna go into there and then ensure that we're not getting any. I'm gonna set everything at 200. That's my air temp sensor correction since it's not connected. So just gonna set everything to 100 so we have no air temp sensor correction. Target air fuel ratio was about 14.0, so we can see that at this point 34 degrees we're running a bit rich. Not too bad, we can let it be, but we're gonna go into the warm-up enrichment tables. So we're idling somewhere around here, so for now we're gonna take out from 117 we go down to 115. I'm not sure what percentage that is. but we're just adjusting it. And here we're gonna take out 2 clicks again. Here we're gonna take out 1, and then we're gonna try over, or we're gonna keep trying this over the next few days till we get it to, well, my car idles around a 14.0, so during warm-up anywhere from a 13.5 to a 14.0 is fine for me. But for now it's okay. 12 is a bit rich, but it's one of those settings that you need to adjust over the next couple of days. You only get one shot at it, and again, the idle is not properly set. The idle FPL ratio is not 100% set, so we're not going to go all in and try to get the 14 FPL ratio, which I'm targeting now. You don't have to target 14, you can go 14.7 or whatnot, but I'm doing 14, and that's what works for me. And another thing I did with my car, I adjusted my idle stop, so my idle is a bit higher this time around. It should be idling somewhere around 1200. It's a bit high, but it usually makes the tuning process a lot easier. You can do that by opening up the throttle plate to begin with. We're not going to play the idle settings just yet, the idle valve settings, so it just makes tuning a lot easier than you trying to fight a low idle and your car is stalling. Yeah, so we're going to let the car warm up and we're going to continue with our fuel map tuning. And we're back from the drive. As you saw from the drive, decided to go a bit deeper into boost. I actually went full throttle on that one. You can see fuel ratio is going down into the 11s. I think my target fuel ratio for that 5 or 7 pounds should be somewhere in the 12s, so still rich. And this is what auto tune did. Still kept on pulling out fuel across the board. I only see one spot where it added one number to the VE table. So means that we're getting close, right? So we're going to pull the, well, view the data log again, alter it, alter, you hit the alter and the V key, and we should have a data log opening up. Right, we're gonna, laptop is really slow, so I'm gonna pause this video. We're gonna pick up after the data log opens. Okay, so we have the log open right here. So what we can do, we're gonna try to view our tune. So we're just going to the side window, just going to open up the tune file which corresponds to that. What's wrong? Anyways, not to worry about the spark table. So this is the VE table which corresponds to this. And in the windows here, the only thing you can see me pulling up on the log is RPM, manifold pressure, air fuel ratio, and my target air fuel ratio. So manifold pressure is in red, RPM in yellow, in white, sorry, air fuel ratio in green, and air fuel ratio target in yellow. So we can start here, right? So we can see low RPMs, 1800 RPM, 100 kPa, which is about atmospheric. My target is 12.8, and I'm somewhere around 13.0. Again, target 12.8. We'll go up in RPM. Right, we can see right here we're at 134 kPa, which is just about 5 pounds of boost. 3000 RPM, 3300 RPM, and target is, what's our target here? 12.3, and we're actually at 12.0, so we're still rich. And we kept going, right? Up here, 44, so that would be about 7 pounds of boost at 4000 RPM. We have a target of 12.2. We're going down into the 11.6. You will see that from the previous clip. And it goes on and on and on and on. So at this point, you can do one of two things. You can go into here and adjust the numbers to correspond with the what did I do? Okay, so for instance, if we at 10, let's say the VE number here is 10, and then we at maybe a 10.0 and we want to go down to an 8.0, just for simplicity, we would simply go there and adjust the 10 right here. You can go there and just multiply it by 0.8, and it will take your number down by 20%. So you'll get it. So 20% of 10 would be 8, right? And so on and so forth. We're not going to do this now. What I'm going to do is just going to continue driving and let auto tune continue removing the fuel from the map. Okay, continuing with the map, you can see this is what auto tune did with the map. If you look in a 3D view, you would see there's a dip here, and then there's a wall of fuel. Reason being, the car could not get up into these areas. What's that? 160 kPa, which is roughly about 8 pounds of boost, and 2000 RPM. There's no way my car would get up there, and so on and so forth. So here's what I usually do to assist auto tune at this point. I go back here and we can see the trends. We can see basically at this point 71 slowly increasing, 71, 73, 75. So tells me this 77 is out of place. What I'm going to do, I'm going to help it out a bit. I'm going to go down here, and this should be lower, because as the car goes up in RPM, V increases, so you need more fuel. So bigger numbers, more fuel. Lower RPM, less fuel, smaller numbers. And simultaneously, if we go up in RP in load, as we go up, the numbers should go up. As we go this way, numbers should go. So the map should take the form of something like this: small going up to big, small going up to bigger numbers. And 3D view, basically we're going to cover the 3D view in the upcoming video, but what I can say is that the 3D view of the map should look somewhat like your top table, or if you were to do a dyno poll. So what I mean by this is okay, I just fixed up the view on this. So your map should look something like this, flat, and as you get into peak torque, it should climb, and then as you pass peak torque, where volumetric efficiency would die off in the engine, the map would go back down. Right now it's relatively flat since the map is pretty crude. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to skip ahead, go back to here. I'm just going to adjust the numbers, like I tell you, numbers I think that will work. So we're going to help auto tune in the places it might not be able to hit. So I'm going to go down here, go down here. If this is 71, there's no way 76 would be here. So we go down to 69. This one would be, let's go down to keep the 69 here. Let's go down here. So we do 66. Go down to 67 here. Okay, so we're continuing. Take these numbers down. So on, and you continue the trend. What we're looking for is numbers that look out of place, because there's no way we could be in the 50s here and then lower in the RPM. We're going up to the 60s, so that tells us that this is wrong. So we just basically cleaning it up. Okay, I'm gonna fast forward because this will take up at least a minute or two to get it done, and then I'm gonna skip ahead to the finished product. Okay, and this is what I ended up with. Right, so to get a true idea of how smoother the map looks, we go into 3D view and ensure that even spacing is on, and it looks something like this. Still not the smoothest, but we're basically working with the numbers AutoTune gave us, and we're trying to help AutoTune out by just smoothing it up. I'm suspecting up here, when AutoTune gets to that point, we'll come down a bit, because the map will essentially look really flat. That's the goal. A properly tuned map usually ends up looking pretty flat. Right, so gonna go back into the car, upload those changes, and then we're gonna go out and then do some more logging and auto tuning. Okay, so it's a few hours later. So I didn't actually end up taking the car out for a drive after the last clip. It's been about, I think I left it for about 3 or 4 hours now. So you can see the coolant temp has gone down to 31. Ambient is about 28, thereabout now. So it's colder, not true cold state, but it's cold. So what we're gonna do now is, we're going to try and start it again and look at the coolant temp as it warms up, and then we're gonna take it out for another drive. Let's see if we get a start. Change, still about low 12s, so we're gonna let it be for now. Don't want to get too crazy with it, so we're gonna, before I end the night, I'm gonna do some more idle tuning, and then the next time we're gonna see if it still remains in the low 12s, because we don't want to be pulling out too much fuel, and it's actually the VE table which needs adjusting. So we're gonna take it out for the drive after it warms up. and we're back from that drive, and this is the result of auto-tune. And I started pushing it a bit because fuel ratios were getting pretty close. I was fairly certain that, you know, we weren't lean. If anything, would be a bit too rich, but we were good. So you can see I went up into boost. I have a data log I'll review in a bit, but I think we're making somewhere around 145 kPa thereabout. So we went up into here. You can see original value of 107. Tuner Studio went down to like 7, so that'll be about 5-6%. Kept pulling. I think I only revved out to about 6,000 RPM. Right here in the cruising area, I think you saw from the videos of me driving around that up in the hills, I would try to modulate the throttle to hit almost every cell, so give auto-tune a fair chance at adjusting the table. Try to vary it a bit. This section in over there, I'll need to take it to our track, which is an old airport runway, which is about, I think, 1.5 miles long. Because in order to get there, you'd probably need to hold second gear and very small throttle opening in order to get a bit. You cannot really do these on the streets, well, on my roads anyways, because they're pretty windy. So yeah, pretty good. I think we saw like a 12.0 thereabout fuel ratio at full boost, which is 7 pounds, which is right around my target, so we're pretty close. Forgot to mention this in the beginning, but the hotkeys for Tuner Studio, like this cell, if I want to increase it, I just hit the Q, right? And if I want to decrease, I hit W. That's the fast keys. You saw me using this all throughout the video. Alright, so I'm gonna burn these changes from Tuner Studio, so these are staying on my map. Look at the 3D view. The shape, the topography of the map did not change too much, if anything. Whatever this is, I'm gonna try and smooth this out a bit. We have a dip here. What is this? About 120, which is about 3 psi, 1000 RPM. So Speeduino cannot get into that. So we're just going to assist it in getting the slope that it more than likely would have wanted. There's no risk of it blowing up here at 3 psi. You'd almost never hit 3 psi or boost at 1000 RPM. Right, and that's about it. So we're gonna be continuing, and then smoothing out the table a bit more, and then, like I said, when we get to the track, we're gonna do this portion here. We're gonna do this portion, and then go into another thing. Right now I had my I had my Tuner Studio set to cell change resistance to easy, so this made for, I guess, like it's pretty much self-explanatory. It's a lot easier to change the cells when the table is getting closer. Like now, I would be switching to normal and then drive around, so it'll be a bit harder for Tuner Studio to change the cells. That's when your table is getting closer and closer, you switch to normal. I almost never use the hard and the very hard settings. I usually, when I'm just starting off, I use easy, and then when the map is pretty close, I'll use normal. At this point, also, you will be tempted, because in my case, I saw places where I've tuned these engines before, places where the car lacked torque. You might get tempted to push time in a bit and say, okay, maybe some more ignition to help with torque, but I recommend that you iron out the fuel map at least 80% before you begin playing with timing. Just from the look of it, and just the numbers I have in my map, I think I can push easily 3 or 4 degrees in my map before we get into the areas where I would be concerned. So for now, I would say it's conservative, but best practice is to iron out the fuel map before we play in the ignition at all. Better it's a lot safer when it's retarded and rich. Well, not too rich and not too retarded, but within reason. Okay, so I'm rambling. Let's get over to the data log, and then we're going to wrap up this video. Okay, and we have the data log open. Okay, so remember we have RPM in the white at the top, and then map in red, and in the bottom row we have the fuel ratio target in yellow and the fuel ratio in green. So we can see here around 100 kPa, which is about atmospheric. You can see the map is pretty close at this point now. You can see 12.8 target and 12.7 actual air fuel ratio from the engine. Continues about 97, 93 kPa, dropping a bit. So we go in here, still within range, 12.8 target, 12.7 actual. Right, we go in here, and here we're still in the 90s, kPa 100. So it remains the same. So air fuel ratios are almost bang on at this point, and this is where I get on it a bit. You can see we're going up about 2 psi. Right here, target is still 12.8, and we have a 12.7 air fuel ratio. Here we're about almost 5 psi, and we have a 12.4 target air fuel ratio. We're around 12.6, so it's a bit leaner, but it's not anything to worry about. You see it quickly catches up. We're up to about 7 psi now, about 3800 rpm, 12.2 target, 12.3 actual. So our map is pretty close. Revving this out all the way to 5400, and we still 12.2 target and 12.2 actual. Right, and the trend continues. So air fuel ratios are almost bang on, guys. At this point here, I would just continue trimming out fuel for the rest of the map, and then move on to the other settings which we need to get working, like our compensation tables and whatnot, our idle control. My car doesn't have an idle control valve, so I pretty much I'm just going by my idle control, well, my throttle plate. Anyways, all right, so we're gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna leave the VE table as is now. Like I said, it's pretty good. At this point here, you would be well on your way to being able to drive that car around everywhere without worrying about it stalling or anything. You may have a few issues with the compensation tables at this point if it's heating up and whatnot, but it's not anything to worry about. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up, and then I'm going to leave the rest for another video. It's getting dark. I need to go spend some time with my wife. She's probably pissed. Alright, so I'm rambling again, guys. So thanks for staying tuned. Thanks for watching. I'm probably going to have 1 or 2 more episodes in this series based on the feedback I get from you guys. So far, I'm very amazed at the actual response from the videos. I've gotten a lot of positive response, a lot of views. I think this is by far the most popular video I've ever uploaded to the channel. So we're gonna talk about that on the next one, guys. So till then, stay safe, enjoy, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.